philo, first in, last out. Now, going straight to class is obviously a good habit because most students do it, most good students do it. In the first 5 to 10 minutes of every class before the teacher starts teaching, you've got time to recap what you did in the previous class in that subject. Meaning you just go back and read what you wrote or do an extra question or whatever you need for you to remember what you'd learned in the previous class. Now you can think of it as getting into Gear 1. You can't learn the new things in most subjects unless you can recall what you did the previous class. That's why it's so important. And the second thing is, if the teacher's teaching you new things, which you need 100% concentration for, if you haven't recapped, you keep thinking back to what the previous class was, which is going to get you distracted. So always, if you recap at the beginning of every class, it's such a good thing. Now, the last 2 or 3 minutes of the class, if you can recap again on what you did in that hour, again it's repetition and it's a very good habit to get into because you're not missing out. While everyone's packing away, you've got plenty of time, it's only going to take 2 minutes. Just reading what you did in that class can be very good. Walking in the class with a positive attitude, an attitude of wanting to learn, can make a big difference, as we've already discussed in the self-discipline sections. But you also want to minimize distractions. Now, it's not necessary for you to sit at the front. The reason why people that sit at the front tend to do well is because a teacher's there, and if the teacher's there, they're less likely to get distracted. But as long as you sit anywhere and you're not distracted, that's fine. Even if it's a window can distract you because there's things going on outside. You don't want to sit anywhere that's going to distract you because focusing is such an important thing. I'm going to go into the benefits of notes later, but basically it's the most effective way of recapping later on. Now, when taking notes, the primary thing is for you to understand what's going on. So first you want to listen to what the teacher says and then make notes. If you find it distracting, you can always make the notes later, copy someone else or take it off the book or whatever. But it's so important in the class for you to listen to what the teacher is saying. That's a primary goal. Making notes is secondary, but also you have to make it. Don't forget, you have to make notes wherever possible. Now, asking and answering questions. Just like how a good footballer is always going for the ball, you always want to ask and answer questions. When the teacher is asking a question of someone else, just think about the answer in your head, and then you can compare what you've said to what they've said, obviously in your head again. Now, questions. When asking a question, you always want to be very specific of what the question is. You should never ever say, I don't get anything, or I don't get the whole thing, or whatever. You want to be very specific. Even write it down on a separate piece of paper, if it's an essay or a math question, and take notes on the answer in detail, especially if this is a math question and a teacher is solving it for you. If it's on a separate piece of paper, then you can see all the steps the teacher's taking. Adding quality and detail to your notes can help a lot when you're trying to revise, and also it gives you confidence when you look back and you see yourself high quality. If you spend 30 minutes making notes, it's only going to take 1 extra minute to add the title and add the date, underline it, use pencils and rulers and that sort of thing. And also, if the teacher can see that you put effort into your notes and your work, then they're more likely to help you put a lot of effort when they're helping you. With homeworks, you want to obviously write it down immediately, schedule a time to do it immediately. We're going to discuss that later on, but preferably you want to do that the same day. The reason for that is, it's already fresh in your mind, so you get to progress a lot more, as opposed to if you leave it till the week after, then it's going to take you a long time to remember what the class was about, for you to answer the questions. And another thing is, if you do it immediately, then you get to go back to the teacher if you have any problems. Another big thing with homeworks is that when the teachers are setting you targets, the success rate of how many times you give your homework in, a good piece of homework, I think plays a critical role when they're deciding what target grade to give you. You can only focus on one subject for so long, and an hour is usually about right. The problem is that after that hour, you can't focus as much. Your ability to learn diminishes, and that's why you need breaks. 10 to 15 minutes for a break is more than enough, and a break is anything that means you're not concentrating on the subject or studying. Now, the balance is key because you don't want to stay in the common room all the time. It's like staying in the jacuzzi all the time. The problem is that first you'll be bored because you're not challenged. Second thing is that everyone's going to be improving, so you're going to feel guilty more and more so. And another thing is you're going to feel frustrated because you're not improving. It doesn't feel good anymore. So a balance is key. Every 2 hours, 10 to 15 minutes is more than enough. That means 2 classes a break. 2 classes a break, which is what you get anyway in college. So to sum up, in the class, philo is important, first in, last out. Not necessarily last out, but basically making sure you're on time and making sure you make use of your time at the end of the class as well. Making good notes taking pride in your work, having a positive attitude. Then there is scheduling your homework, asking and answering questions, and taking breaks. It's very important to take breaks.